I'm a libertarian, so you know, government has certain very vital functions, and I'm very skeptical of government's ability to solve a lot of problems. I believe in free markets. That having been said, I don't think it's realistic that Obamacare is going to go away. But whether we have Obamacare or our old system or some improvement upon what's called Obamacare, what we need to do is figure out ways to lower medical costs. And in economics, you know, they discuss the law of supply and demand. And what we need to do is increase supply of medical people, drugs, alternative medicines. Right now we have all these regulations that prevent those things from flourishing. So what we need to do, regardless of what kind of medical program, is figure out how to increase the supply. There's been efforts to try to eliminate vitamins, bring that in under the wing of the FDA. What we need is to get government out of that stuff. Let the markets find the solutions. We will lower the prices regardless of whether we continue with the present system or not.
Thank you. Mr. Flaherty.
Can you rephrase that question quickly?
Yeah. I think everybody would agree that the subject of health care has been much debated in recent times. Particularly controversial has been the recent legislation the Obama administration pushed through. What are your thoughts on how to address the health care issue in America, and what are your thoughts on Obamacare?
Well, I don't necessarily agree that the Obama administration pushed through this agenda because there's probably a lot of people who feel that they started out with something good, that they started out with universal health care or single payer or something that was going to allow people to have insurance without being under the yoke of greedy insurance companies that care nothing about people and more about money. But so I don't know how it came about, whether the Obama administration just pushed it through or whether they were cowed into it because they're beholden to, because politicians are beholden to political action committees, insurance company political action committees and things like that. So you don't know what happens, but both sides of the aisle are to blame here. It's not just the Obama administration pushing something through. With regard to what should be done, I think that 10 or 20 years ago, we wouldn't have needed a single payer. We wouldn't have needed universal health care. We could have done something else. It seemed that there was a modicum of regulation on insurance companies, but now they write the laws. They literally, their attorneys literally write the laws for our legislature. You can't even mention the name of an insurance company in a court action to the jury. As you probably know, I believe you're an attorney, or else they'll strike it from the record. They feel that's prejudicial. So at this point in time, I'd have to be for those kind of programs like universal health care or a single payer, because in order to make it possible for the most underprivileged, neediest people to survive. The single most cause of bankruptcy in the United States is still lack of medical insurance and medical bills, and next to the foreclosure crisis. So these are things that still need to be addressed, and they're simply not being addressed by the present legislation.
Thank you. Mr. Newberry, do you want to add to what you mentioned before?
Just quickly. We've gone without a health care plan because everybody was trying to create the perfect plan from scratch. I've tried to do that with education when I was in the military. You can't do it perfectly from scratch. We have a plan. It is what it is. You have a Democratic Senate, a Democratic president, people sitting there saying we're going to overturn it, are either lying to you or they're naive. It's not going to happen. We have a plan that has problems with it. We need to work those problems. I talked about privatizing medical insurance. We need to take a look at that. People are against providing health care to those who can't afford it because they don't deserve health care. Well, let me tell you, those people get health care. The problem is they get sick and sick and sicker and sicker until they collapse, and then they go to the hospital, and we end up spending 10 times the amount on them then that we would have spent if we provided preventative care. We need a system, but we can't sit there and snipe at it. I know nobody here has meant the nastiness that you hear in Congress on Obamacare, but if I get to Washington, you will never hear me call it Obamacare. I want to work from the middle to fix what we see right now that's wrong with it and get this medical plan on a solid footing and move forward. I also want to interview doctors and administrators, and I'm not talking about the administrators that sit at the top. I'm talking about the administrators that work with the patients to get their health care. I want to meet with them across the country and find out what's working, what isn't, and go back and fix things.
Thanks. For the record, I didn't mean to build a pejorative into that question by using the term Obama.
No, I understand. And neither did
I hope
Steve.
I didn't.
I know that too. That's why
we all
I
know
tried to-
what we're talking about.
That's why I
We
tried to
know what
couch
we're
it. You
talking
guys
about.
don't mean what I hear when I hear it in Washington.
Fair
Which
enough.
all that does is get everybody's back up and.
Just a
and-
quick second, you guys look fantastic, okay? I mean, I'm a film producer with some, in the background, and this is a high definition camera, you're looking, all three of you, even, you're a little bit in shadow because you're sitting the other way.
Yeah, it's not about me anyway.
I know that, I'm just letting you know, it looks great, guys,
Cool.
just telling you.
We don't have much time left, so
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you one more question about our foreign policy, and then I'm going to give everybody a chance to make some conclusory remarks before we call it a day. Right now, America is involved in two major military campaigns that we're all aware of in both Iraq and Afghanistan. And working throughout the Middle East in various capacities, with the seeming ever increasing democracy movement and protest movement in some of the Middle Eastern countries, particularly countries where governments are actually killing citizens who are simply protesting. What is your position on what the United States involvement should be, if any, in that region, in those conflicts, given the overall geopolitics of the region and our history there?
Well, I believe the best foreign policy is trade and diplomacy, not war. It's very hard to spread democracy at the end of a gun. And that's one of the reasons we have such ridiculous defense budgets. And defense has become a bit of a euphemism because defense is very important. And money spent on defense are critical. But what we call defense includes a lot of activities which aren't defense at all, and they become interventionist policies. And that is just terrible. And we end up making more enemies than we can convert to our point of view. So I'm opposed to those kinds of activities. I'd like to see us get our troops home. I'd like to see us start changing the way we view the world and not try to rule with an iron fist. Getting Osama bin Laden was a bold and brilliant military move. There's no question about it. But bin Laden spent an estimated $500,000 pulling off the 9/11 attack. And by conservative estimates, it's resulted in an increase of $500 billion to our budget. So how many 1 million to 1 terrorists can we deal with? And if, America has become so powerful that terrorism to some people becomes the only way they can respond. And we don't want that. I'm all in favor wherever there's a crisis in the world. The situation in Libya, we should have sent doctors and people helping with food. We've got the best emergency people in the world, both domestically and for international events. So that's the type of diplomacy I would like to see, and not the interventionist military policies.
Thank you. Mr. Flaherty.
Can you rephrase it quickly? I remember the question, but it's kind of a compound question again. I didn't think you were going to do that today.
I'm doing my best not to. Thank you. I'll simplify it. What do you think the United States policy should be in the Middle East, given how spread out we are in several wars and given the history of our involvement in that region?
Well, The objective, the policy, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Well, it should be to achieve peace, but you know, there's no doubt, as Steve was saying, there's a tremendous amount of blowback for the actions that appear to others around the world that we're doing things for because we want treasure or position or to keep a trade route open or for our own national interest or for oil or some. People around the world, there's tremendous, you know, these hatreds that build up between people, between religions, between ideologies, and it lasts for thousands of years. So obviously, in every instance, you have to be diplomatic. You have to be almost delicate. You have to be tactful, and you can achieve, you know, attract more flies with honey than you can with lemon juice. But the fact is that you have to maintain a strong military. Probably the best deterrent to war is having a strong military. And but the objective, of course, the question you're asking is achieving peace, particularly in the Middle East, and working on ways to bring that about.
Thank you. Mr. Newberry.
That is it's a very complex area in the Middle East. Being a military member, I am the last person that wants to see our troops go over. I've sent a bunch of guys over. It's not fun. So I'm the last person that wants to see that. But like it or not, the U.S. is a world leader. And we need to stay involved. Not maybe with a gun, but we need to stay involved. And let me give you two examples. In the 50s, 56, the Egyptians asked us to build the Aswan Dam. We gave them a price tag that was ridiculous. They turned to the Russians, who were only too ready to do it for them for almost no cost. The result of that was we had no impact and no influence in Egypt for years, and we saw 3 wars happen and lost thousands of people. Afghanistan, after the Russians were driven out, we kind of turned a blind eye to the Taliban running Afghanistan with all the horrible abuses. Female circumcision's one of them. The horrible abuses going on there, we kind of ignored it because it's not our country. What resulted was we gave Al-Qaeda a nice safe place to plan a terrorist attack, and we lost over 3,000 people because of it. We need to stay involved militarily. The Middle East Pacific is, you really need to understand the history of the area to help work it. And I don't think there are that many people who understand the history. For example, I've had a lot of people ask me, what is the big deal with Syria wanting to run Lebanon? Why is there this conflict in Lebanon? You need to go back to 1920 when the French ran the place. The French created Syria, turned it over to the Muslims. They then they were worried about the Maronite Christians, so they created this little area called Lebanon and gave it to the Maronite Christians. The problem, who thought, oh good, we have our own country. The problem was they also put the Sunni Muslims in there to protect them. The Sunnis saw it as, oh boy, we're going to reunite with Syria. Lebanon was born schizophrenic. That's the problem in that area. And to me, unless you really understand the history of the Middle East, I don't know how on earth you can help them work it.
Okay, thank you. I know it's difficult to address any one of these questions. We could spend the day talking about. So, you know, I understand it's difficult to respond in a short bit. Well, tomorrow's the election, and this may be your last time to address a camera and get the message out to your constituents as to why they should go to the polls and why they should vote for you. So if you'll indulge us and the cameras, please make some conclusory remarks to give people something to think about as they hopefully go to the polls and pull the lever.
I offer some win-win solutions where we can get more by actually spending less. We need to decriminalize marijuana. We need to revoke the Patriot Act. We need to allow people to marry whoever they want to marry. We need to allow people the right to choose over what they can do with their own bodies. The types of proposals I have can not only save tens of thousands of lives in Mexico, but we can save U.S. taxpayers. We've got 100 million U.S. taxpayers who are paying too much and getting too little. These interventionist policies, both in the military and in the drug area, even in the immigration issues, where we spend money building walls and chasing down immigrants, are colossal wastes of dollars. I think we have an opportunity to make some changes that can make 1 billion lives a little bit better. And that's what I plan to do, and that's why I'm running for Congress and ask for your vote.
Thank you. Mr. Flaherty.
Well, if you'll vote for me, I hope this thing will go viral on the internet somehow before the election. You're going to get a person that isn't beholden to the moneyed interests, and I keep returning to the big picture. But you've got the big money guns are really on top of this election. They're looking at they've only given about $400,000 to the front runner and about $300,000 to the person in second place. That's only because the person in second place, Deborah Bowen, was chosen to replace Jane Harman. But and then Janice Hahn got into the race, and with her backers, billionaires and insurance company, PAC, and others who have funded her, and lawyers and judges too. And I'm not trying to take anything away from Deborah Bowen or Janice Hahn as individuals, because I know Janice Hahn's family. I know her father from when I was a kid. He was a good guy and a courageous politician. I'm sure Janice is the same. However, once you are put in office and kept in office by the big money interests, that's what's wrong with the country. That's what's wrong with the world right now. That's why we need these things like elections, clean elections. I mean, we should have passed the Clean Elections Act, but big money interests stopped it. So, simply in looking at the big picture, you need to elect people who are willing to get in there and frankly don't care if they get threatened with political exile or being blackballed or whatever because of these interests. I want to get in there and look at what needs to be done and do the right thing, and I'm asking you to vote for me, and I'll do my best if you'll get out there and vote.
Thank you. Mr. Newberry.
Now, to paraphrase Ronald Reagan, I want to ask the people a question. Are you better off today than you were 20 years ago? Are you happy with the way the budget's going? Do you enjoy watching people sitting on opposite ends of a spectrum sniping at each other, not getting anything done, and wasting billions? If so, we've got a number of professional politicians on the ballot. Please go ahead and vote for them. I'm not one. I want to get in and lead by example. As I said, I'm not going to take a pension. I'm voting for term limits. I'm not a professional politician. I've got specifics. I'm not going to tell you I'm going to solve whatever the issue is without telling you how I'm going to do it. I think today we've talked about it. I've presented concrete examples of the things I want to do with education, with taxes, with the budget, foreign policy. I don't like to give generalities. I'd rather give specifics. I hope that you go to the polls, please. I ask you for your support. Again, I have 25 years of federal budget experience. I'm new to politics, but I'm not new to that system. Give me a chance. If you always do what you always did, you'll always get what you always got. You've got a bunch of newcomers. We're here to try and help make a difference and do things differently and help move this country forward.
Thank you, gentlemen. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, and thanks to the people who let us use this boat for our...
The Odyssey.
The Odyssey.
Odyssey.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. We're done. Thanks.
Thanks.
And thank you very much for...